Hello, and welcome to Andrew Broussard Watercolors. Today, I'm going to do a few different exploration of watercolor pencils on various types of paper. This paper for this one is just the Stonehenge, which I believe is 90 pounds, so it's Stonehenge drawing, and it is toned tan. I have something white that I could hold against it, and you can kind of really see how that is. The pencils that I'm using are the Albrecht Durer Magnus by Faber-Castell. It's the kind of like extra large size. I think they have them on both Blick and Jerry's Artorama. I'm sure they have them on other websites as well. So I'm just going to jump into this with, I'll try to name the colors as I'm using them. This is burnt ochre. We'll play around and create just a landscape and see what happens with it, how it acts, how it interacts. I do have some other brands that we can look at, and I have some different paper we can experiment with as well. I had cut a whole bunch of this paper to size so I could play around with it and see how it was. This is a walnut brown. I think I have some. I think they make the Albrecht Durer watercolor pencils in a smaller format, and they have more colors on it. But I don't think everything is light fast. That's kind of just one of my art pet peeves. You obviously don't have to follow along with that. Find out what works for you and what you enjoy. Just for me, I like to have that little added benefit to them. Okay. I picked up, this is dark indigo. Play around with that. Kind of just sketch in some colors and ideas, and then use the brush to push it around and play with it. I do have a kind of a lemon yellow, so we'll put the indigo and see how that interacts. We could put a raw umber down at the base. Let's bring some reflection down. Maybe do some light water here. And then we'll do our classic L-shaped composition. Bring it around maybe to a slight S-shaped curve right there. So we'll see how the paper handles it, how this spreads out, and yeah, just have fun. Let's see, a little bit of tree here. You throw a little bit of that lemon yellow, and I have this red, this dark red. Throw that in the sky. All right, so I have a squirrel mop. Actually, before we do this, let's see how if this erases. It looks like it erases some. I don't know if the kneaded eraser would do anything. I feel like I just make these kneaded erasers so dirty. Oh, that works too. Okay, so there's some erasability there. Good to know. Anyway, so this is a squirrel mop. Spread this pigment out. So we had put some of the dark indigo up there. I expect the paper to buckle a little bit since it's 90-pound paper. But it should handle this somewhat decently. Let's see its liftability. not too much, but gotta remember I'm on toned paper here, so it's not gonna pull back to any type of white. All right, let's bring down here. And I had made some marks for a tree in this area, but it washed out very easily. What we can do now is play around and see how it looks with these guys on wet paper, on a wet drawing. This is the white. With any type of like watercolor pencil, drawing pencils, colored pencils, I always have difficulty with whites. Maybe like they're kind of too waxy for me, or they don't come down. In fact, I don't know what the binder is here. I'm kind of curious. But it seems to be doing something. Hopefully the camera's picking that up. The camera looks kind of light, to be honest. So maybe we'll darken some stuff. Push water around. We'll get our indigo and see how that looks, wet and wet. You can see where it kind of wants to move a little bit in the wet, but it's not really happening to a large degree. Reflection down. And I'll just grab, I think it's the walnut brown. Start trying to get some trees here. It looks like I'm gonna have to do some layering. So I'm going to go right back to grabbing the squirrel mop. Pass that fellow around. This time I seem to be getting a resistance to moving those spots. You know, so you kind of see those marks still. Here's the area where I put the white in. Give shape to this mass. I've used this paper for the pen and ink. I've used it for I think for the alternative printing processes, like the cyanotypes and the Van Dyke process. I never really played around on top of it with watercolor pencils. And honestly, I don't really use watercolor pencils that much, or if at all. Let's find a stiffer brush. Here, I'm just going to grab an oil brush and see what happens. You can see it starts to pill up the paper right there. I'm going to have to play around with just regular Stonehenge, the 140 pound. You can see where it's still wet. It wants to diffuse. I'm going to use the paper towel to get texture, soften things up, move it around. Okay, let's pause this and let's do a dry off. All right, let's try it off. Looking through the camera, it looks lighter through the camera than it is in person. So I'm going to get just heavier and darker and see how that looks. Let's Some areas are probably still a little damp because it doesn't really want to take in some spots. By the way, this I think is the back side of the paper where it has a little bit of tooth. So you can see that texture there. The reason I went with that is to see if there was any granulation and how that would affect it. So we'll darken up our sky here. Darken up our shadow. Pushing that pilled paper out the way. Let's try to bring this forward landmass, just more density to it. You can also see how black this black gets. Let's see. Let's just get some more of that dark indigo in the sky. We can throw some raw umber here on the closer shoreline. Let's very light for distant. Might even just use like wash that I pick up from other spots there. Do we want to see if we can erase back anything? Needed eraser. Then we'll use our squirrel mop. That black gets really dark. You could check out the scrapeability. We'll look for that. This time I'll just let some of those brush pencil textures come through. Just kind of wetting it and spreading it. Bringing what's on the brush up and out. And bring that down. Use that for some background stuff. There we go. Have fun in the sky. The eraser marks really seem to make it pill. Movement. There we go, we have a little something. I'm going to pause it, and actually the paper is still damp. I changed the color of my light over there. Let's just try to get some texture. See what type of scrapeability. Definitely feels a lot different than the Stonehenge aqua scraping. I'll do a dry off and we'll see how it is with the razor blade. All right, feels dry enough. Let's just start cutting into this paper now. If you use a razor blade, be careful. Okay, and while I was drying off, I was thinking, why not experiment with gestural marks to represent the tree, and then play around with lightly wetting that, almost as if we were taking a fountain pen, a micron pen, a dip pen, anything like that, and we were kind of drawing in a tree, and then taking a brush afterwards and creating an ink wash. So we'll see what happens in that regard. So I'm just doing the classic hook shape to represent, as if we were illustrating this. I don't want to take up too much time with that, so let's just wet it a little bit. See how that affects things. I want to try to leave some of those expressive marks. Just a little bit of a play back and forth. Probably even do a little bit on that far shore. So kind of giving it a mixed media feel. In fact, I probably should try this on mixed media paper so we can see how that is. I think if we pause and do a dry off. I'm thinking let's just do a little bit of dry sketching in the sky. So here's the white. It goes out pretty well. Bring that sky over the leaves a little bit. And the razor blade. Get a little bit more cuts in here. And I think we'll leave the experiment at that. The paper itself held up okay, but it really started pilling quickly. Again, this paper isn't for watercolor, it's for drawing, but it is 100% cotton. I guess it just doesn't have the sizing that's necessary in order to handle it. This is, I think, the back side, so it's a little bit rougher. I want to try the smooth side, and I have some other colors that I want to try with it. And I also want to experiment with mixed media paper and just see how that is. So I hope you enjoyed. Let me know if you want to see more of this. I am going to film a few more after this one with the different colored papers. But let me know what you would like to see. Thank you for watching. Thank you for your support. And thank you to my Patreon members who help support this channel financially. That really helps getting supplies and experimenting with different things. So thank you and have a great day. Bye.